6 months had passed since the Council's decision. Captain Ryan Hayes stood on the bridge of his ship, the Defiance, and watched the edge of the solar system on his screens. His orders were simple and clear. He was to patrol the boundary of human space. He was to watch for Council ships, but he was not to fight them. Earth's government had decided to follow the Council's rules while they figured out what to do next. Ryan did not like it, but orders were orders. "Captain," said Lieutenant Cole Peters from his station, "I am detecting multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 12 vessels, all Council design. They are taking positions around the solar system." Ryan studied the display screen in front of him. The Council ships were spreading out, forming a ring around humanity's home. They were not just watching anymore. They were creating a blockade. "Open a channel to them," Ryan ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a Velcro's commander. His armored face looked stern and cold. "Human vessel," the Velcro said. "You will maintain your current position. Any attempt to cross the perimeter will result in your destruction." Ryan kept his voice calm. "We are inside our own solar system. You have no right to give us orders here. The Council has given us authority to enforce the quarantine by any means necessary. We are protecting the galaxy from your species. Do not test our resolve." Ryan cut the transmission. He turned to Cole. "They are not even pretending anymore. This is not about protection. This is about control. They have put us in a prison." Below the bridge in the ship's science lab, Dr. Helen Carter was working on something that would change everything. She had been studying the technology they had received from the Council during the brief time of contact. She had discovered something interesting. The Council's faster-than-light drives worked on principles that human scientists had already thought about. They used quantum tunneling through folded space. It was advanced, but it was not impossible to understand. What Helen had realized was that there might be another way to travel, a better way. When Ryan came to visit her lab, she was excited to explain. "We have been thinking too small," Helen said, showing him diagrams on her computer. "The Council uses one method to travel faster than light. They tunnel through space. But our own research suggests there is a different approach. We could cut through dimensions instead of going around them." Ryan looked at the complicated equations on the screen. "How much faster would this be? If my calculations are correct, we could travel in 1 hour what takes the Council ships a week. They use roads through space. We could make shortcuts through reality itself." Ryan felt hope for the first time in months. "How long until you can build a working model?" "With the equipment on this ship, maybe 6 months. Maybe less if Earth sends us what we need." "You will have everything you need," Ryan promised. "Start working on it immediately." Back on Earth, in a secret command center buried deep underground near Geneva, Admiral Christine Lopez was coordinating humanity's response to the blockade. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing the positions of Council ships, the status of Earth's fleet, and live information from the colonies on Mars and Europa. "They think they have trapped us," Christine said to her staff. "They think we will just give up and accept their quarantine. They do not understand what they have done." Commander Paul Gibson, her tactical officer, brought up a star map. "We have identified 17 Council worlds that would be within reach if Dr. Carter's new drive works. None of them have strong military defenses. They have become comfortable and lazy." "We are not starting a war," Christine said firmly. "Not yet. But we are not going to sit here and do nothing either. Send coded messages to all our research stations in deep space. I want every scientist and engineer working on ways to break through this blockade. The Council wants to see what happens when they corner humanity. They are about to find out." She pulled up reports from intelligence officers who had been monitoring Council communications. The intercepts showed that most Council species thought the matter was settled. They believed Earth would accept the restrictions and fade away. "They are so certain we will obey," Christine said. "They have no idea who they are dealing with." Paul nodded. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "We prepare," Christine said. "We build our new drive. We upgrade our ships. We train our people. And when we are ready, we show the Council that humanity does not accept cages." On the Defiance, weeks turned into months as Helen worked day and night on the dimensional drive. The equations were incredibly complex. The engineering challenges were enormous. But slowly, piece by piece, the device took shape. Ryan visited the lab regularly, watching progress. He brought Helen food when she forgot to eat. He made sure she slept when she worked too long. The entire crew knew how important this project was. "It is almost ready," Helen told him one day. Her eyes were tired but bright with excitement. "I need to run one final test, but I think it will work." "What do you need?" "Just time," Helen said. "And maybe a little luck." The test happened 3 days later. Helen had built a small probe equipped with the dimensional drive. It was designed to jump a short distance and then return. If it worked, it would prove the theory was correct. Ryan stood in the lab with Helen and watched as she activated the probe. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the probe simply vanished, not like a ship going into faster-than-light travel. It did not accelerate or fade away. It just stopped existing in their reality. 5 seconds later, it reappeared exactly where Helen had programmed it to go, several thousand kilometers away. "It works," Helen whispered, then louder. "It works! Ryan, it actually works!" Ryan allowed himself to smile. "How soon can you install this on the Defiance?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. We will need to modify the ship's power systems to handle the energy requirements. But yes, we can do it." Ryan immediately sent an encrypted message to Admiral Lopez. The message was simple. "The door is open." Christine received the message in her command center. She read it 3 times, making sure she understood. Then she turned to her staff. "Send orders to the fleet," she said. "Every ship is to report to the nearest facility for upgrades. We are installing Dr. Carter's drive on every vessel we have. Carriers, fighters, everything." "Admiral," one of her officers said, "this technology is brand new. We have only tested it once. Installing it fleet-wide is a massive risk." "Everything is a risk," Christine replied. "But sitting here doing nothing while the Council keeps us prisoner is not acceptable. We move forward. We adapt, we overcome. That is what humanity does." Over the next month, Earth's entire military fleet underwent modifications. Helen's dimensional drive was installed on every ship. Engineers worked around the clock. Scientists double-checked every calculation. Pilots trained on simulators, learning how to use the new technology. The Council's blockade ships noticed the increased activity, but did not understand what was happening. They saw human ships moving between Earth, Mars, and the outer stations. They saw construction and upgrades. But they thought it was just normal maintenance. They had no idea that humanity was preparing to break free. Ryan stood on the bridge of the newly upgraded Defiance. The dimensional drive was installed and ready. Helen stood beside him, monitoring her creation. "All systems are functioning normally," she reported. "We can jump whenever you're ready, Captain." Ryan looked at the Council blockade ships on his screen. For 6 months, those ships had kept humanity trapped. They had enforced the Council's decision with threats of violence. They had treated humans like children who needed to be controlled. That was about to end. "Send a message to Admiral Lopez," Ryan said. "Tell her the Defiance is ready to make history." The response came back quickly. "Stand by. Operation Exodus begins in 72 hours. All ships will move together." Ryan smiled. In 3 days, the Council would learn their first lesson about humanity. You could build walls around humans, but they would always find a way through. You could tell them what they could not do, but that would only make them more determined to do it. The Galactic Council had voted against Earth. They had tried to isolate humanity, to keep them small and controlled. They were about to discover that was their biggest mistake. Jake Morrison stood in the center of the massive chamber and tried not to feel small. The room was enormous, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. The ceiling stretched so high above him that he could barely see it. Walls made of some kind of crystal surrounded him on all sides, and through them, he could see the stars. Around him sat the representatives of 200 alien species. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Jake had trouble understanding what he was looking at. There were tall beings that looked like giant insects, their bodies covered in shining armor. There were creatures that floated in spheres filled with water, speaking through translators. There were beings made of pure light that flickered and changed colors as they moved. Jake had been on this station for 3 months now. 3 long months of meetings, presentations, and endless discussions. He had shown them everything about Earth. He had talked about human history, human culture, and human achievements. He had brought data about their technology, their science, and their progress toward peace. Behind him stood Laura Bennett, his assistant. She held the tablets that contained all their information. She had worked as hard as he had, maybe harder. Together they had prepared everything perfectly. They had answered every question the Council asked. They had addressed every concern. Now it was time for the vote. The leader of the Council was a Velcros named Vexthon. The Velcros were the first species to create the Council, 5,000 years ago. Vexthan was old even by Velcro standards. His insect-like body was scarred from centuries of life, and his voice carried the weight of authority. Vexthan raised one of his clawed arms. The chamber fell silent instantly. Every being in the room turned to look at him. "The Council has made its decision," Vexthan said. His voice was translated into English by the device in Jake's ear. "Humanity's request to join the Galactic Council is denied." Jake felt his stomach drop. Denied. After all their work, after all their preparation, the answer was no. But Vexthan was not finished speaking. Furthermore, the Velcros continued, "Earth is now declared a restricted world. There will be no trade with humanity. There will be no technology sharing. There will be no contact of any kind. This is the decision of the Council." Jake could not believe what he was hearing. They were not just rejecting Earth's membership. They were cutting humanity off completely. They were isolating Earth from the entire galaxy. "Wait," Jake said, stepping forward. "On what grounds are you making this decision?" Vexthan's large eyes fixed on Jake. "Your species is too young. You are too violent. You are too dangerous. Humans still fight wars against each other. You have almost destroyed your own planet 3 times in the past 100 years. We will not risk the safety of the galaxy by allowing such a species into our civilization." Laura moved to stand beside Jake. "We have given you proof of our progress," she said, her voice steady despite her anger. "Wars on Earth have decreased by 80% in the last 50 years. We have fixed the damage to our environment. We have built colonies on Mars and Europa without any fighting over resources. We are not the same species we were 100 years ago." Another council member spoke up. This one was a Mershai, one of the water-dwelling species. Her name was Thais, and her voice rippled with what Jake had learned was laughter. 50 years, this said. "You speak of 50 years as if it means something. The youngest species in this council maintained peace for 300 years, before we even considered them for membership. You humans are children playing with fire." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "This is more than just rejection," he said. "You are putting Earth in a cage. You are cutting us off from the galaxy." "For the protection of the galaxy," Vexthan replied, "and for your own protection as well. This decision is final. You have 30 days to stop all space exploration beyond your solar system. Any human ship found beyond the Kuiper Belt will be destroyed. There will be no warnings. There will be no second chances." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens of all kinds began speaking at once. Some seemed to agree with the decision. Others seemed to protest it. Jake noticed that some members of the council had voted in favor of Earth, but they were too few to make a difference. The final vote had been 156 against Earth and only 44 in favor. Jake looked down at the tablets Laura was holding. All that information, all that proof of human achievement, and it had not been enough. The council had already made up their minds before he even arrived. This whole process had been nothing but a show. He gathered the tablets from Laura, holding them tightly. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. He was angry, more angry than he had ever been in his life. "You are making a mistake," Jake said quietly, looking directly at Vexthan. "Humanity does not accept being put in a cage. Then humanity will learn to accept it," Vexthan replied. "You are dismissed, Ambassador Morrison. You will leave this station within 24 hours. You will return to Earth and deliver our decision to your leaders." Jake wanted to say more. He wanted to argue, to fight, to make them understand. But he knew it would be useless. The council had made their decision, and nothing he said would change it. He turned and walked toward the exit, Laura following close behind. As they left the chamber, Jake could still hear the aliens talking among themselves. Some sounded pleased with the decision. Others sounded concerned. But none of them were changing their votes. Outside the chamber, Laura finally spoke. "What do we do now?" Jake looked out a window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was Earth, their home. A world full of people who had hoped that humanity would finally take its place among the galactic civilizations. People who believed that humans deserved to explore the stars, to meet other species, to learn and grow. "We go home," Jake said. "We tell them what happened. And then we let Earth decide what to do next." Laura nodded. "They are not going to like this." "No," Jake agreed. "They are not. The council thinks they can control humanity by isolating us. They think we will just accept this decision and stay in our solar system forever. They think we will obey." He turned to look at Laura. But they do not understand humans. They do not understand that the more you try to limit us, the harder we push back. They do not understand that we have never accepted being told what we cannot do. Laura managed a small smile. So what happens now? Jake looked back at the stars. Now the Council is going to learn what happens when you try to cage humanity. They think this is the end of the discussion. But this is just the beginning. They walked together toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Behind them, the Council continued their meeting, probably already forgetting about Earth and its rejected ambassador. But Jake would not forget. Earth would not forget. The Galactic Council had voted against Earth. They thought they had solved a problem. They thought they had protected themselves from a dangerous young species. They had no idea what they had just started. As Jake boarded the ship that would take them back to Earth, he looked one last time at the Council station. It hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and ancient and proud. "Enjoy your peace while you can," Jake whispered, "because humanity is coming, whether you like it or not." The ship pulled away from the station and turned toward home. Inside, Jake and Laura began preparing their report. They would tell Earth everything that had happened. They would explain the Council's decision and the restrictions they had imposed, and then Earth would respond. Jake smiled grimly. The Council had made their choice. Soon, very soon, they would learn it was the wrong one. The moment that changed everything came on a normal Tuesday morning. Captain Danny Martinez was piloting the civilian transport ship Horizon from Europa back to Earth. It was a routine trip he had made hundreds of times before. His cargo hold was full of supplies, and he had 43 crew and passengers on board. Danny was thinking about his daughter's birthday next week when his navigation system started acting strange. Numbers flickered on the screen. His course plotted incorrectly. He frowned and started making manual corrections. "Control, this is the Horizon," he said into his communicator. "I am having navigation issues. My systems are showing incorrect positions." "Copy that, Horizon," came the response from Earth Traffic Control. "We show you on course. What is your position reading?" Danny checked his instruments again. Something was definitely wrong. The computer was showing him 3 kilometers outside the boundary that the Council had established. But that could not be right. He had been careful to stay well inside the line. "Control, my instruments show I have drifted across the perimeter, but that cannot be accurate. I need confirmation of my actual position." There was a pause. Then the controller's voice came back, tense and worried. "Horizon, our readings show you are inside the boundary. You are fine. But we are detecting a Council ship approaching your position fast. You need to move back toward Earth immediately." Danny's hands moved quickly across his controls, turning the Horizon back toward home. But even as he did, he knew something was terribly wrong. Through his window, he could see a Velcros warship approaching. Its weapons were already powering up. "Control, the Council ship is targeting me. I am moving away. I am inside the boundary. Tell them I am inside the boundary." On the bridge of the Earth defense ship Defiance, Ryan watched in horror as his sensors picked up what was happening. The Horizon was clearly inside human space. The navigation error was obvious to anyone looking at the data. "But the Council ship did not care, Captain," Cole said, his voice shaking. "The Velcro ship is firing." Ryan could only watch as the Council warship's weapons hit the civilian transport. The Horizon had basic shields meant to protect against space debris, nothing more. They lasted less than a second. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion, pieces scattering into the darkness of space. 43 people died in an instant. Men and women who were just doing their jobs. Families going home, people with lives and dreams and futures, all gone because of a navigation error of 3 kilometers. "No survivors," Cole reported. His face was pale. "Captain, they just murdered 43 civilians over a minor navigation glitch." Ryan's hands gripped the arms of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "Get me Admiral Lopez, right now." When Christine's face appeared on the screen, Ryan did not wait for her to speak. "They killed the Horizon, unarmed civilian vessel. A navigation error put them slightly off course. The Council did not even send a warning. They just destroyed them." Christine's expression turned to stone. "I know, we recorded everything."
"Ryan, how close is Dr. Carter to finishing the drive installation?"
"We completed the final tests yesterday. The drive works perfectly. We can bypass their blockade entirely." "Then it is time," Christine said. "We have been preparing for this moment. Operation Exodus is authorized. Every ship with the new drive is to prepare for deployment. We are not asking the Council for permission anymore. We are taking our freedom. Over the next 3 weeks, Earth worked at a pace that would have seemed impossible before. Every military vessel received the dimensional drive. Fighter pilots practiced the new jump procedures. Engineers made final adjustments. The entire fleet was preparing for something the galaxy had never seen. Admiral Christine Lopez stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Vindication. Around her in space floated 30 other vessels, each one equipped with Helen's dimensional drive. Each one ready to make a statement that would echo across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Lopez to all ships." She broadcast on the command channel. "The Council thinks they can keep us locked away. They think we will accept their judgment and stay quiet. They are wrong. Today we show them that humanity does not ask for permission. We do not accept cages. All ships, prepare dimensional drives on my mark." Dr. Helen Carter was on the bridge of the Vindication, monitoring the drive systems across the fleet. Every screen showed green. Every ship was ready. "Drives are charged and ready, Admiral," Helen reported. Christine took a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. "Mark," she said. The fleet vanished, not into faster-than-light travel like the Council ships used. The human vessels slipped sideways out of normal space, cutting through dimensions that the Council did not even know existed. On the blockade line, the Velcro's commander stared at his empty sensors in shock. Where did they go? How is this possible? Find them. Scan all frequencies. But no amount of scanning would help. The human ships were not in normal space anymore. They were traveling through pathways between dimensions, moving faster than anything the Council had ever created. 15 light-years away, on the other side of Council space, the human fleet emerged from their dimensional jump. They appeared in orbit around Velcro's prime, the Council's capital world. Alarms blared across the planet. Defense stations scrambled to respond. The Council assembly was thrown into chaos. High Counselor Vexthon stood in the emergency session chamber, staring at the tactical displays that showed Earth's fleet in orbit above his homeworld. "How did they get here?" demanded Ambassador Thys, her water sphere rippling with agitation. "Our sensors showed nothing. No faster-than-light signatures. They just appeared." Admiral Christine Lopez's face appeared on every screen in the chamber. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were hard. "Counselors," she said, "we did not come here to start a war. We came here to make a point. You tried to cage us. You tried to keep us ignorant and isolated. But humanity has never accepted limitations that others try to force on us." Vexthon's translator crackled with his angry response. "You dare bring weapons to our capital world? This is an act of war." "No," Christine replied. "An act of war was destroying an unarmed civilian ship for a navigation error. An act of war was blockading our home and threatening to kill anyone who left. We are here to show you that your blockade was always meaningless. We do not need your permission to explore the galaxy." On the Vindication's bridge, Paul Gibson monitored the Council's fleet movements. "Admiral, we have 17 Council warships converging on our position. They will be in weapons range in 4 minutes." "Let them come," Christine said calmly. "Helm, prepare for dimensional shift. All ships stand by." She turned her attention back to the Council. "You made your decision based on the belief that humanity is too young, too violent, too dangerous. You said we could not even achieve peace on our own world. You are wrong. We have achieved peace. We did it by learning that our differences make us stronger, that cooperation is not weakness but strength." Dr. Helen Carter stepped forward into view of the camera. "The technology we used to reach you, you had the foundation for it in your own databases. But you never developed it, because it required a level of cooperation between different fields of science, different ways of thinking. We achieved it because we had physicists from 20 nations working together, sharing ideas freely. The 17 Council warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, surrounding the human fleet. They were bigger, more heavily armed, and they outnumbered Earth's ships." Vexthon's voice came through the speakers. "Surrender now or we will destroy you all." Christine smiled. "You still do not understand. Paul, begin the demonstration." Across the human fleet, the dimensional drives activated. But this time they did not jump to another location. Instead, they created bubbles of altered space around each ship. When the Council warships fired, their energy weapons passed through the space where the human ships were. But the blasts went into other dimensions and vanished harmlessly. "We cannot be hit," Christine explained calmly, "because we are not entirely in your dimension anymore. We are phased slightly out of normal reality. Your weapons, your shields, your entire way of warfare is useless against this technology." The council chamber fell completely silent. Every counselor stared at the screens in disbelief. "Now," Christine continued, "we did not come here to conquer. We did not come to destroy. We came to prove a point. You tried to contain us, but you only made us stronger. You forced us to innovate, to find our own path. In 1 year of isolation, we surpassed technology you have used for thousands of years. Imagine what we will achieve in 10 years. In 100. She paused, letting her words sink in across the council chamber. "We are offering you a choice. Accept Earth as an equal member of this council, with full rights and full respect. Or we will ignore you and make our own alliances with species who see opportunity instead of threat. Either way, humanity is taking its place among the stars. The only question is whether the council will adapt or become irrelevant." Vexthan looked at the human fleet, untouchable in their dimensional shields. He looked at his own warships, their weapons useless. And he knew that the galaxy had just changed forever. The council had voted against Earth, thinking they could control humanity's future. Instead, 3 days of intense negotiations followed the arrival of Earth's fleet above Velcros Prime. The council chamber was filled with heated debates and arguments that sometimes lasted through the night. The appearance of humanity's dimensional drive technology had shocked every species in the galaxy. High Counselor Vexthan sat in his private office reviewing reports. His advisors stood around him, their faces showing various degrees of concern and fear. "The humans have technology we cannot counter," one advisor said. "Their ships can phase out of our reality. Our weapons pass through them as if they are ghosts. If they wanted to attack us, we could not stop them." Vexthan's claws clicked against his desk. "They have demonstrated their superiority. But we cannot simply accept them after voting against them. It would show weakness. The Council's authority would be questioned." "The Council's authority is already being questioned," another advisor replied. "Half the member species are asking how we failed to predict this. The younger species are wondering if they should listen to us at all if we can be so completely wrong." In the main council chamber, the debate raged on. Ambassador Thys of the Mershai was arguing loudly against accepting Earth. "They have threatened us," Thys said, her voice translator making her anger clear. "They brought weapons to our capital world. They demonstrated their ability to attack us whenever they wish. If we reward this behavior, what message does that send?" A small, bird-like delegate named Krell from the Thunari species stood up. The Thunari had remained neutral during the original vote about Earth. Now Krell's voice carried weight. "What message did we send when we isolated them?" Krell asked. "What message did we send when we destroyed their civilian ship for a minor error? We treated them as children, as prisoners. They responded by proving they are neither. Perhaps the message we should consider is that our old ways of doing things no longer work." Ambassador Jake Morrison sat in a gallery watching the debate. Laura Bennett sat beside him. They had been brought to Velcros Prime to participate in the negotiations. But mostly they just watched as the council argued with itself. "They are terrified," Laura whispered to Jake. "They built their entire civilization on being the advanced ones, the wise elders. Now, a species they rejected has technology they cannot match." Jake nodded. "Fear can lead to wisdom or to more mistakes. We will see which path they choose." On the surface of Velcros Prime, Admiral Christine Lopez walked through a garden with Commander Paul Gibson. They were waiting for the council's decision, but Christine was not idle. She was already planning the next steps, regardless of what the council decided. "Even if they accept us," Paul said, "there will be resistance. Some species will never trust us. Some will always see us as a threat." "That is fine," Christine replied. "We do not need everyone to trust us. We just need them to respect us. And respect comes from strength, not from asking politely." She stopped by a fountain, watching the alien water flow in patterns that defied Earth's physics. The council is used to being in control. They decide who joins, who gets technology, who has a voice. We have disrupted that. Some of them will try to restore the old order. What do we do about that? Christine smiled. We keep moving forward. While they debate and argue, we continue to innovate. Dr. Carter's team is already working on the next generation of the dimensional drive. In 6 months, we will have technology that makes what we showed them look primitive. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Carter was indeed working on improvements. Her laboratory was now filled with scientists from around the world, all collaborating on ways to expand and enhance the dimensional technology. If we can phase out of normal space for defense, Helen explained to her team, we can also use the same principles for faster travel, for communication, for energy generation. This is not just one technology. It is a whole new field of science. A young physicist named Lisa Chen brought up a simulation. Dr. Carter, look at this. If we adjust the dimensional frequency, we might be able to create stable portals between 2 points in space. No travel time at all. Instant transportation. Helen studied the equations. That would require enormous amounts of energy. But yes, theoretically it is possible. Add it to the research list. Everything is possible now. On Velcros Prime, the council session entered its 3rd day. The delegates were tired. Arguments were becoming repetitive and no consensus had been reached. Finally, Ambassador Krell stood and requested silence. When the chamber quieted, the Thunari spoke clearly. Counselors, we are debating the wrong question. We keep asking whether humanity deserves membership. But the real question is whether the council can afford to exclude them. Look at the facts. In 1 year of isolation, they developed technology superior to anything we have. They did this while cut off from galactic knowledge, using only their own innovation. What will they achieve in 10 years? In 100? Krell gestured to the screens showing Earth's fleet still in orbit. We can vote against them again. We can try to enforce our decision. But they have shown they will ignore us. They will form their own alliances, create their own trade networks, build their own version of civilization. And species will flock to them because they offer something we have forgotten how to provide, the possibility of rapid advancement. The chamber was silent. Every delegate knew Krell was right. Our choice is simple, Krell continued. We can accept humanity as equals and benefit from their innovation, or we can cling to our old ways and watch as the galaxy moves on without us. History shows that civilizations which adapt survive. Those that resist change become irrelevant. Vexthon stood slowly. The old Velcros looked tired, older than his many years. Ambassador Krell speaks truth. We have acted from fear, not wisdom. The question before us is not about humanity. It is about whether the Council can evolve. He looked around the chamber at the assembled species. I propose a new vote, not just on Earth's membership, but on reforming how we integrate new species. The old model is broken. Humanity has proven that. The vote took hours. Species caucused among themselves. Old alliances were questioned. New perspectives were considered. In the end, when the votes were counted, the result was 102 in favor of accepting Earth and 98 against. It was closer than anyone expected, but it was enough. Vexthon announced the decision to Admiral Christine Lopez and Ambassador Jake Morrison in a formal ceremony. Earth is hereby accepted as a full member of the Galactic Council, Vexthon declared, with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities that entails. But there were conditions. There were always conditions. The Council requires that Earth share the theoretical basis of the dimensional drive technology, Vexthon said. Christine shook her head firmly. No. We will share the theory, the science behind it, but not the complete specifications. Just as you did not hand us faster-than-light technology when we first made contact. We will trade knowledge, but as equals, not as students to your teachers. Vexthon's mandibles clicked in what might have been frustration or respect. You drive a hard bargain, Admiral. We learned from the best, Christine replied. The Council taught us that in this galaxy, you have to fight for respect. So that is what we are doing. Jake Morrison stepped forward with proposals that Laura had prepared. The Council has operated the same way for thousands of years. But Earth offers a different model. We propose joint research stations where all species work together as true equals. We propose cultural exchange programs that celebrate differences instead of ranking civilizations by age. We propose a new framework for helping younger species advance without controlling them. He pulled up holographic displays showing detailed plans. We are not asking to replace the council. We are asking it to grow, to evolve, to become something better. Over the following weeks, the details were worked out. Earth would have a full seat on the council. Human representatives would participate in all decisions. And most importantly, the way the council operated would begin to change. Not everyone was happy. The Mershai delegation walked out in protest. Several other species voted against every proposal Earth made. But slowly, gradually, a new order began to emerge. Admiral Christine Lopez stood in her quarters on the Vindication, looking out at Velcros Prime below. Paul Gibson entered with the latest reports. The first joint research station is being established, Paul said. Scientists from 15 species have already signed up to work with Dr. Carter's team. Good, Christine said. But watch for sabotage. Not everyone wants this new order to succeed. Already on it, Paul confirmed. Intelligence has identified 3 groups within the council that are actively working against us. The Velcros military is conducting exercises near our shipping routes. The Mershai have closed 2 research facilities without explanation. Christine turned from the window. They are not ready to let go of the old ways. They see humanity's rise as a threat to their power. What do? We keep our eyes open and our guard up, Christine said. And we keep moving forward. The council voted against Earth once because they thought they could control us. Some of them will try again. When they do, they will learn the same lesson. Humanity does not accept limits. She pulled up classified files showing new research projects. 6 months after Earth's acceptance into the Galactic Council, the galaxy looked very different. The changes were visible everywhere. From the new research stations being built to the trade, routes opening between Earth and dozens of alien worlds. Captain Ryan Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it approached the outer rim of council space. His mission was humanity's first official diplomatic contact with the younger species, those civilizations that the council had not yet accepted as members. Earth wanted them to know that there was hope, that change was possible. Captain, we are approaching the Viridian system, reported Cole Peters. 3 ships are moving to intercept. They match the description of Viridian patrol vessels. Ryan smiled. Open a channel. Let us introduce ourselves. The screen showed 3 small ships outdated by council standards but well maintained. A Viridian face appeared, reptilian features showing curiosity and caution. Unknown vessel, you are entering Viridian space. State your purpose. I am Captain Ryan Hayes of Earth. We come in peace representing humanity's diplomatic mission. We would like to speak with your leadership about the Galactic Council and Earth's recent acceptance into it. The Viridian's eyes widened. Earth? The species that forced the council to change? We have heard stories. Some say you defeated the entire council fleet. Others say you have technology that makes you invincible. Ryan laughed. The stories are exaggerated. We did not defeat anyone. We just showed the council that younger species have value too. That is what we want to talk to you about. On Earth, Dr. Helen Carter stood in the new Institute for Dimensional Studies, a massive facility built on neutral ground between Earth and council space. Scientists from 20 different species worked side by side in the laboratories around her. A Velcros researcher named Zeth approached her with data on a tablet. Dr. Carter, our combined team has made a breakthrough. By mixing human dimensional theory with Velcros quantum mechanics, we have increased drive efficiency by 40%. Helen studied the data, her excitement growing. This is excellent work, Zeth. This kind of collaboration is exactly what we hoped for. It is strange, Zeth said quietly. 6 months ago, my government considered humans to be dangerous children. Now I work with them every day and realize we have much to learn from each other. That is the point, Helen replied. No species has all the answers. When we work together, we all benefit. In another part of the facility, a young human physicist named Kevin Park was explaining dimensional mathematics to a group of alien students. His class included beings from 5 different species, all eager to understand the technology that had changed the galaxy. The key is thinking in more than 3 dimensions, Kevin explained. Writing equations on a holographic board. Your ships move through 3-dimensional space. Our drives move through 11 dimensions. That is why we can travel so much faster. A Thunari student raised a wing, But how do you keep the ship stable across so many dimensions? That is the brilliant part, Kevin said. We do not fight the dimensional shifts. We ride them like surfing a wave. My colleague, Dr. Lisa Chen, discovered the mathematical model that makes it work. Back on Velcros Prime, the council chamber was in session again. But this time the discussion was different. They were not debating whether to exclude anyone. They were discussing how to help younger species advance more quickly. Ambassador Jake Morrison sat at Earth's designated seat, with Laura Bennett beside him as his advisor. Across from him, Ambassador Krell of the Thunari was proposing reforms to the Council's charter. For too long, Krell said, we have measured species by how long they have existed, but Earth has shown us that innovation and determination matter more than age. I propose we change our membership criteria to focus on a species' achievements and potential, not their years of existence. The proposal sparked debate, but it was different from before. Species were listening, considering, adapting. The old certainties had been shaken, and new possibilities were emerging. High Counselor Vexithan, still the council leader despite everything, called for order. These are significant changes, but perhaps they are necessary. The galaxy is not the same as it was 1,000 years ago. We must evolve with it. Jake caught Laura's eye and smiled. The council was learning. Slowly, but it was learning. However, not everyone was pleased with the changes. In a secret meeting room deep within a Mershai underwater city, Ambassador Thys met with representatives from several species that opposed Earth's influence. The council has lost its way, Thys said, her water sphere rippling with agitation. We allowed the humans to bully us into accepting them. Now they are changing everything, erasing traditions that have stood for millennia. A Velcros general named Cormath nodded his agreement. My military has been studying their technology. We believe we can counter their dimensional drives. It will take time, but it is possible. Then we must buy that time, said a delegate from the Saurian collective. We must slow Earth's expansion, limit their influence until we are ready to challenge them. Thys's eyes gleamed. Accidents can happen in space. Ships can disappear. Research stations can fail. Nothing that points directly to us, but enough to make the humans cautious to slow their momentum. The group agreed. They would work in secret, undermining Earth's efforts while appearing to cooperate publicly. They called themselves the Preservation Coalition, claiming they were protecting galactic culture from human corruption. But they underestimated how closely Earth was watching. In Admiral Christine Lopez's office on Earth, intelligence reports detailed every move the Preservation Coalition made. They are planning sabotage, Commander Paul Gibson reported. Nothing major yet, but they are testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses. Christine studied the reports carefully. Let them look. Make sure they find exactly what we want them to find. If they think they understand our capabilities, they will be less cautious. That is when they will make mistakes. You want to let them sabotage us? Paul asked, surprised. I want them to try, Christine corrected. Every attempt they make gives us more information about them. More importantly, it shows the rest of the council who the real threat to peace is. We did not come this far by being naive, Paul. We knew there would be resistance. She pulled up a star chart showing human expansion across the galaxy. In 6 months, we have established contact with 40 new species. We have opened trade with 20 council members. We have research partnerships with 15 species. The Preservation Coalition sees this as a threat. I see it as proof that most of the galaxy wants what we are offering. Which is what exactly? Paul asked. Hope, Christine replied. For thousands of years, the council told younger species to wait their turn, to be patient, to accept their place. We showed them there is another way. That is what terrifies the old guard. Not our technology, but our ideas. On the outer rim, Captain Ryan Hayes was meeting with leaders of the Viridian civilization. They sat in a simple room, very different from the Grand Council chambers. The council ignored us for 200 years, the Viridian Prime Minister said. They told us we were too primitive, too young. Then you arrive and tell us that age does not matter. Forgive me if we are skeptical. Ryan understood. I am not saying the council was completely wrong. Young civilizations do need time to mature, but they should not be isolated. They should not be told they have no value. Earth was cut off for 1 year, and look what we achieved. Imagine what the Viridians could achieve with access to galactic knowledge and trade. And what does Earth want in return? The Prime Minister asked suspiciously. Partners, Ryan said simply. Allies, friends, the galaxy is vast. There is room for everyone to grow and prosper. The old model said there was a limited amount of power and influence, so it had to be carefully controlled. Earth believes in abundance. There is enough for everyone. The Viridian leader studied Ryan carefully. Your words are inspiring, Captain. But words are easy. Actions reveal truth. Then judge us by our actions, Ryan replied. We are offering a trade agreement with no hidden terms. Technology sharing with no strings attached. Cultural exchange with no demands for assimilation. Try working with us. If we prove untrustworthy, you can always walk away. Over the next months, Earth's reputation grew. The trade deals were fair. The technology sharing was genuine. The cultural exchanges were respectful. Species that had been skeptical began to trust, and the Preservation Coalition's influence began to shrink. But they were not finished. In a desperate move, the Coalition attempted to destroy a joint research station near the Thunari homeworld. A bomb was planted designed to look like a failure in human dimensional technology. The bomb was discovered 10 minutes before it would have detonated. Earth security had been watching the Coalition carefully. Not only was the attack prevented, but the evidence clearly showed who was responsible. The council session that followed was explosive. Ambassador Theiss and her Coalition allies were exposed in front of the entire galaxy. The evidence was undeniable. Bexthon's voice was heavy with disappointment. You speak of preserving our culture, but you would murder innocents to maintain your power. This council was built on principles of peace and cooperation. You have betrayed everything we stand for. The Coalition members were removed from their positions.